Hey everybody, November 2025 promises to be a fascinating month as we're going to have Mars, Mercury, and the Sun in the sign of Sagittarius. Mercury is going to go retrograde and Jupiter is going to go retrograde, and Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So we're having some sort of major redirect, returnaround, redo, reevaluation and and making sure that we're in alignment because Saturn is also in retrograde and Saturn's going to go direct at the end of the month. So Saturn and Jupiter are making this beautiful trine, Mercury in retrograde. Now, all three of these planets are going to be in retrograde, making sure that we reevaluate, we go back and we redo something from the past that we've left behind, need to redo, need to learn better, or need to integrate more in our psyche before we can go forward when Saturn stations direct at the end of the month. All right, here we are at the beginning of November with Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius. Mars is going to oppose Uranus before it moves into Sagittarius here in a day or two, which will cause some sort of upset, possibly it can be a volatile, sudden violence, sudden upheavals, and it can be a shock and awe energy, crisis energy, and degree point of Scorpio. But other than that, the month looks beautiful after we get over that hump. But Mercury is going to start going retrograde here on the 9th, and then Jupiter follows in retrograde. And Jupiter is making this beautiful trine to Saturn, and the Sun will join that trine. Venus will join that trine in the month of November, which is a beautiful backdrop of harmony, calm, peace, blessings, intuitive intelligence, connecting, reflecting these energies because we've got all this retrogradation with Jupiter in retrograde, Mercury in retrograde, Saturn in retrograde. And then with that Mercury in retrograde, we're going back, we're reconnecting with people that we need to reconnect with, that are really a part of our future, that are a part of our Dharma. Sagittarius is all about our Dharma, being on our calling, being on our purpose, following a destiny, following a destined path. And then Jupiter is blessing that with long-term opportunities and abundance and expansion. But when it's in retrograde, we're really reevaluating and we're integrating what we have learned so far and really leaning on what we've learned and really seeing if we've learned it on a psyche level, that it's integrated as a part of who we are now. Planets go direct, we learn a lot. Jupiter direct, Jupiter retrograde, we go back and we discover what we have learned, what is real, what is solid in what we have learned that we can really lean on and use for our own personal expansion. So, Jupiter retrograde, ruling all these planets in Sagittarius. The Sun's going to go into Sagittarius in the 21st of November. And Mercury will be retrograde back into Scorpio, forming another opposition to Uranus, which could bring another deep secrets, revelations, people from the past coming in. Mercury retrograde, we're reevaluating people from our past, choices we made in the past that were not necessarily put us in the right direction. People we left behind that are part of that are really supportive of our true dharmic path that we need to go back and reconnect with. Ideas, projects that we may have not felt strong enough to do or courageous enough to do. Because remember, we have a Jupiter who is ruling all of these planets in Sagittarius, squaring Chiron, giving us the courage and healing us to be initiators and to start these dharmic callings and missions, or shall we say purposes, or what we're here to do, which is going to bring the world into a better place. When we follow our dharmic path collectively, we make heaven on earth, basically. So Jupiter and Saturn is making this beautiful trine, blessing us with opportunities and rewards, you could say, from the squares that happened before with Jupiter Saturn square, where we're now starting to see opportunities in the results of our efforts that will solidify and stabilize an abundant future for us, right? But with this retrogradation, we have to go back and fix something or reconnect with someone or redo a project or come back and reevaluate something we believe. Maybe we have a new belief system. Maybe we can do something now with our new belief, with that Jupiter squaring Chiron. We have the faith in it. Now we can go back and take on a project or take on a relationship or an idea. Go back, retrieve this this good thing that is going to improve our lives and expand our lives. And now we're going to bring it back into our journey, our forward destiny. And then when Saturn goes direct here at the end of the month, it really takes us forward on that, with that new aligned, shall we say, things that we retrieved from the past, people, ideas, projects. And then we're bringing them with us forward. Now, Jupiter's going to stay in retrograde. Mercury's going to go out of retrograde in December. Saturn's going to be out of retrograde in December, but Jupiter's going to continue its retrogradation, which means we're continuing to draw on what we have internally learned, and we're continuing to integrate wisdom, knowledge, experience. And it's a long retrogradation, but it is in its abundant sign of Cancer, so it shouldn't block abundance. It should continue to feed us abundance. Only we're really leaning on what an internal wisdom that we have developed in the last. Well, all of this journey began in December 21, 2020. So we've learned a lot. We've gained a lot of wisdom in our experience and in our learning. Jupiter is about learning and growing consciousness and awareness. So we've made a lot of new awareness, new knowledge. So now when Jupiter goes into retrograde, we then apply it. We then see, did we really learn something, or was it only head deep, or did it change who we were? Now at Jupiter retrograde, we see that it has changed who we are, and we now act from that internal place of knowing rather than external. So we have two lunations, as always, every month. We're going to have a full moon in Taurus on the 5th of November. And that is going to be a super abundant full moon, 13 degrees of Taurus. Super abundant full moon. Anytime you're going to get the moon in Taurus, we're really going to get some nice harvest, especially a full moon. We're harvesting. We're reaping the rewards on a full moon. We're seeing the results of some sort of a nice, abundant, strong, stable, long-term results from some sort of effort that we may have seeded in the new moon in May. So we're seeing sort of the harvest of that, and it looks very abundant and sort of we could say it's a very rich produce with a lot of nutrients, nurturing us to continue on this highly supported path that we're on by the universe, feeding us lots of richness. And then we're going to have a new moon in Scorpio on the 20th. And the new moon in Scorpio on the 20th is pretty intense because it's at the end degree point of Scorpio. So it's like kind of a crisis degree. So for some people, this could be a situation of sort of intensity, upset. But there's a crisis often at the end degree point. But again, it depends on your own personal chart, if it's giving you a harsh angle, but if not, it's a really beautiful new moon where we really clear old fears. With this Saturn, Jupiter trine, it's really supporting our forward momentum. By this point, Saturn is still in retrograde, but we're really finding some deep clearing, some purging of transformative of the fears, some deep fears that have been holding us back from taking our nice path, because it really does. This new moon is a part of that water trine, which brings us into a harmonic flow towards our destiny, a stable new future. So we're really breaking through some sort of deep fear, inner fear that's blocking our destiny with that new moon. And so this is a new moon, a new beginning from a newly healed, or shall we say, purged, brave, the end of that, because whenever you get to the end degree point, Neptune is making a trine to Neptune. So it's sort of some sort of a blessing as a result of having done some internal transformative work. We now have a new seed, a new beginning from sort of fresh soil. So very fertile new moon. And so that takes us pretty much to the end of the month there. Saturn stationing direct, I'm going to go into all the 12 signs now. Saturn stationing direct is going to bring a lot of forward momentum on top of the retrograde energy. So we get a nice, Saturn's been in retrograde, so things have felt possibly pretty blocked and slow and heavy. So then when Saturn starts moving direct, we start to feel it's a slow build momentum, which is really going to take strong traction in February when it goes into Aries. So we're realigning in these energies, getting back, making sure we're in the right path, in the right Dharmic destiny, with the right people, the right projects, the right ideas, so that when Saturn goes direct, we're in alignment, going forward with those things. And again, this is all with a reflective, with the month beginning with this retrogradation, we're really connecting with our higher selves, our souls, and really connecting with what our soul is here to do. And we're just finding the path forward, clarifying that path forward this month. And it will go very strongly forward by the we'll start to really feel a momentum start to build by the end of the month. All right, have a wonderful month. Namaste. Hello, Aquarius. The month starts out with your planet still in retrograde, but it is going to go direct at the end of this month. So this month is all about preparing you for that time when your planet goes direct and momentum is going to start moving forward in an area in your life that may have been feeling a little blocked during the retrograde period. Now, the month also begins with Uranus in the sign of Gemini in your fifth house, opposing Mars, which is in the end degrees of Scorpio, which can bring intensity and sudden out of the blue shock opportunities or conflicts. It can be good or bad depending on how it aspects your chart. It is disruptive. It may call for sudden action. It is in Mars is in your 10th house, so it could be around career, finances, or secrets coming up that may have you either end your job, quit your job, or just have to take action, sudden action around averting a crisis in relation to your work. Or again, because Uranus is in your fifth house, it will be traveling there for 8 years. It is in retrograde. There could be a ending of a connection, friendship. So some kind of a disruptive occurrence occurs that causes you to have to take some sort of action. However, it does have a beautiful trine. It does, Mars makes a wonderful trine to Saturn and Neptune and Jupiter during this transit. So it will work out in your favor in some way. In other words, if let's say, for instance, there is a conflict and a truth comes up and with a work comrade or connection, then whatever truth comes up, whatever has to be acted upon around it, takes you much more in alignment to your Dharma. Your grand water trine is in your workhouses, so this will bless your long-term financial stability, as that is what the water trine is blessing in your chart. It is hitting your workhouses, how you feed yourself, how you are of service through your work. That is the big work. That is the big work, Earth trine. So, and that is being very blessed by this by Saturn in retrograde. Trining Jupiter is about to go retrograde, and this Mars Uranus opposition. So some sort of breakthrough occurs here that blesses you. It is a if it is a negative experience, it is a blessing in disguise. Then Mars will move into your 11th house and join in the sign of Sagittarius on the 4th. Uranus will move into your 4th in the 8th, and then this opposition sort of winds out. But again, some other things could occur involving sudden conflict, perhaps with tribe members or having to block somebody on your social media. Um, but it is a energy that will end in a week, and then the rest of the month is absolutely wonderful. We're going to have a full moon in Taurus on the 6th, right before Mercury goes retrograde. So the full moon in Taurus on the 6th here I can't put it on the exact hour. It sometimes does not let me do that and keep the Aquarius in the first. So we've got this full moon Taurus in your first house with the sun in your 10th. Now there is a lot of intensity with those Scorpio planets in your work house. So perhaps you go through some sort of death and rebirth. Perhaps you do change your working situation with Saturn. Your ruling planet is about to initiate a 29-year cycle when it goes direct in your career house. So there's a good chance you are taking a big shift and change in your work. And that will be a long-term stabilizing source of income for you for about a 29 year, because we're initiating a new 29-year cycle in your sign. In Saturn is doing that. So this beautiful full moon brings you, perhaps if you're selling a piece of property, you sell it, you get a good amount of money for it. You might find a good renter paying you the kind of money you desire to charge for a property, or you have a child, again, a full moon. This is a very abundant full moon, the seed that could have been planted in May or in a previous new moon in Taurus the year before, but some sort of beautiful result comes as a result of a family or living situation, property, real estate, your location. You could relocate. You could suddenly be giving an opportunity of a wonderful place to live. You've always wanted to live, and a house shows up that you love. I mean, this is the kind of energy we're looking at. We're aligning with big new changes, big new chapter coming. So a full moon in your fourth house could bring the shift in your location that is going to stabilize you and put you in the right location for this dharmic new career chapter that is beginning in your life. That is in alignment with your true calling and your shall we say your dharma, because Jupiter is always about our dharma. And it is blessing this water trine. It is in its exaltation giving this water trine the energy of amazingness and fabulous opportunities that Jupiter it wants to expand in our life. All right, so that full moon brings abundance and auspiciousness to your work and home access. Now we're going to move to Mercury stationing retrograde. Now that is going to happen. Oops, let me go back to Aquarius. That is going to happen a few days later here on the 9th, and then Jupiter is going to go retrograde 2 days after that. So we've got this theme of retrogradation involving this preparing you for when Saturn stations direct, because these are very reflective energies of the water trine, and in these planets in retrograde, we're going back to projects in the past, or people or tribe members or media projects in the past that we are now really ready to re-look at, revise, redo, reconnect with. This is hitting in your 11th house, so this is involving other people and connections, or your social media platform, or you redo a podcast or a media project from the past. I think I said that. So yeah, so Mercury retrograde brings some sort of dharma because it's in the sign of Sagittarius. It's ruled by Jupiter that is in this beautiful water trine. So it is about your dharma. It is about your true new destiny. It is obviously connected to this new big chapter that's about to start for you. So these are things from the past that are coming back that are absolutely important for this new chapter. So that takes us to Mercury. Now, Jupiter retrograde, Jupiter direct has been teaching you a lot about discipline, daily routines, your health, and improving your overall, I would say, structural health and energy. Because when Jupiter's in our sixth house, it's preparing us for when it's in our upper houses, where we're going to be really out in the world and needing to utilize strong health and energy. So Jupiter in our sixth house is training us to become better in our daily routines and in our habits. And it is also having us work diligently at perhaps learning things and what else? Becoming more conscious and aware of our habits and improving our health in general. So then when it goes into retrograde, we're really, shall we say, reaping the rewards of what we've learned. And it's now becoming more second nature. And we're just sort of becoming that person now. It integrates when it's in retrograde. And so that's going to bring you, the more healthier you are, the more energy you have, because that's blessing your second house. It's blessing Saturn. So this is going to give you long-term, stable, good health, whatever adjustments and things that you learned during this period with Jupiter in your sixth. But again, Jupiter in your sixth, it is a Dharma planet. It would have put you on your Dharmic path in the air, and you would have learned more about where it is and how it is you're here to be of service and to follow your Dharmic calling and be somewhat of a healer if you're going to have Cancer over your sixth house. So this period with Jupiter in retrograde was also developing you and teaching you more about your Dharma and what you're here to do in service to the world. So now we're going to move forward to, and again, this is bringing you a lot of financial stability. When you're going to see that, you're going to feel that momentum, you're going to feel the structure of your new, strong, long-term finances stability, building momentum at the end of the month. But again, these retrograde planets are helping to align you with past projects and what you've learned that can really support this. And now we go to, let's go to the new moon in Scorpio, which is going to be on the 20th. And that is going to be in your 10th house of career, which again is this theme for you of stability involving your work houses. So this is a new beginning in your career. Again, blessing your long-term finances, creating some sort of structural new foundation in your life that is going to be very solid and long, like I say, long term, but it opposes Uranus in your fourth. You may get a promotion in your career. You suddenly have to move. An opportunity opens up somewhere that you have to relocate. Now it can just be temporary and then you come back, or because these planets are in retrograde, you go back to where you lived before or an old property. I've done that. I've rented a property, moved out, and then ended up coming back a couple of years later and rented another property in that building. So that can be the way it plays out. But with Mercury retrograde, this is involving something with your career and something from the past or project from the past. A colleague, career colleague from the past comes back and you collaborate and you decide to take on a project together, a media project, social media, networking involvement here with this, with Mars in your 11th being ruled by Jupiter. Again, Jupiter is crowning all of this energy, making this all about our Dharma. And so this new moon does bring, and again, it involves Uranus. So it could be a sudden project shows up out of the blue and it's a media project or a service to humanity or a volunteering effort brings you rewards and a new beginning. Um, so yeah, so this again is a part of the water trine. So it brings you stable blessings for the long term, financial with Saturn and the nodes in your second house. So yeah, so I think that pretty much covers the month. What else? Let me just quickly scan the chart here. With Mercury retrograde, like I say, connections from the past coming in. And again, I do want to talk a bit about Chiron here in your third house, squaring Jupiter. You are you are healing some inner fears about being bold and confident on media because with Chiron in your third house and communication and you do have Pluto in your first house where you are going to become a transformed version of yourself. So this square to Chiron and Jupiter in your sixth house, which is the house of being of service, and also your health with Chiron there could be, if you have any planets there, you could have some health issues show up. However, this is to transform you and turn you into a healed and self-confident person that can execute your calling and your dharma. All right, if you would, I would appreciate it if you would like, and if you haven't subscribed, to subscribe. And if you would like a personal reading, feel free to contact me at soulevels.com. Thank you and have a wonderful month. Namaste.